The call went out, this time for the 10th year in a row. Georgia startups get in the game. The challenge was, do you think your startup's the best of all new innovation in Georgia? The fact, as it has for nearly a decade, TAG was giving away $50,000 in cash to the baddest startup in Georgia and $350,000 in legal marketing, accounting, and other professional services to the top 4 startups at Georgia's premier annual Launchpad competition. That's right, it was the Business Launch 2015 10th annual celebration, and the winner was... Greetings, everyone, and welcome from the Technology Association of Georgia. This is Tech Talk, and I'm your host, Frank Baia. The Business Launch competition presented in a tournament format with 3 levels, preliminary, semifinal, and final. This annual contest is in its 10th year and is a collaboration presentation of the Technology Association, Venture Atlanta, and the Atlanta Metro Chamber. This year, Tucker-based Gimme took home the top prize. Up to the Tech Talk, an exclusive interview with the company's Chief Executive Officer and President, Cory Hewett of Gimme Vending. Cory co-founded the company in early 2014 after an incubation period under the wing of Georgia Tech, where he studied electrical engineering. By then, he had gained over a decade of vending experience. In fact, he purchased his first vending machine during his freshman year at high school. He gradually expanded the business operations, and by senior year was named the Georgia Youth Entrepreneur of the Year. Up to the Tech Talk, we explore the challenges and now the new opportunities presented by being the winner of what has become one of the premier startup competitions in the greater southeastern United States. As we speak with the 10th year anniversary winner of the Technology Association Business Launch Competition, co-founder, Chief Executive Officer, and President of Gimme, Cory Hewett. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. Cory, welcome to Tech Talk.
Thank you so much, Frank.
Well, I think for openers, congratulations. Not just an average year, but the 10th anniversary of the TAG Business Launch Competition. You guys won. Pretty exciting. I'd love to hear more about some of the challenges that you went through and the hoops that you did to get you there. But I think one of the things that we do here at Tech Talk, we have a tendency to talk to not just the verticals, but we go horizontally. We go across every part of the technology industry. And so we'll often talk about health IT or fintech or internet security. But it's rare that we get an opportunity to talk to a category as unique and as special as yours. So let's start with that. Number one, what I'm talking about, obviously, is the vending industry. How did you end up working, especially on a startup that helps the vending industry?
So it is a pretty niche industry, and it's a question that I get a lot of. How does a Georgia Tech engineer end up working on building technology for vending machines? And for me, it's something that I started with back when I started high school. So my first year of high school, I bought my first vending machine. And while everyone else was concentrated on, what job can I get to buy my first car, I was thinking, man, I want to make sure that I'm able to still have money and be able to have the time to enjoy it too. So I got started in vending right in high school.
You know, it's funny how the passions like that will start. I mean, one of the closest friends I've got, literally now probably about 30 years ago or more, started as a college kid from Georgia Tech, collecting computers, vintage computers. Now he has the largest collection of vintage computers any individual owns in the United States, and at first blush it's sort of like vintage computers, but some of them literally go for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So here's a case where early on, certainly the vending industry has been an edge of technology within its own vertical, but now it moves into a technology space where we're talking about the Internet of Things. I'm sure you're being impacted by a number of disruptive technologies like a lot of other verticals are. But before we drift into that, because I do want to learn more about it, I still think our audience is going to be curious about how did you feel about getting involved in the TAG competition, and then from your perspective, how did it feel to win?
Oh, well, I mean, the simple answer is it felt really great for not only me, but for my entire team. And there are people that have made a lot of sacrifices to work really hard to get us where we are today. And we're still growing, so we're definitely not slowing down with the effort, but it's great to hit these victories along the way. For example, my co-founder, Evan, gave up a job, a great-paying engineering job at Gulfstream to work in the startup instead. So to be able to win, it's just an excellent recognition that what we're doing is hitting the nail on the head. We're helping out our customers. We're helping out the industry. And to have the Technology Association of Georgia and Georgia Tech and Metro Atlanta Chamber and Venture Atlanta all come together and say, we agree, we think you're working on the right thing, and we're going to recognize that by naming you the winner this year, that was just amazing for us.
Really impressive. Obviously the proof of performance is usually the bottom line without question, and impacting in particular industry, and especially something from a disruptive standpoint. But as you mentioned, especially with a startup, and especially dealing in something that is a little bit of a birth singularity, something that's unique, and in this case, from even a venture standpoint, I won't say risky, but certainly cutting edge. To get that kind of recognition and peer support along the way, I can only imagine it's been helpful, not only from a motivational standpoint, but also from a business standpoint and networking standpoint. And
well, Frank, the cool thing for us is we had a customer in the audience that day, so to have them not only get faith based on the technology that we're building, but also be able to see other people within the technology industry recognize us, it was a great moment for them as well, to be proud that they're helping a startup and not only trying to deal with legacy and incumbent technology providers.
Well, and again, from a technology association standpoint, the spectrum of disruption across every virtual segment, we talk about it all the time. You have to really embrace that it isn't just happening in a silo. It isn't just happening to you. It's happening across the board, and the things that are changing the Internet of Things I mentioned earlier, but certainly apps and high-speed connectivity in the cloud and all of those kind of things offer opportunities that obviously are impacting healthcare, but obviously they're impacting the vending industry as well. Give us some indications about the startup itself, maybe a little input about how it all began, and from your perspective, maybe for our audience who weren't aware of especially the recognition from the launch competition, tell me what Gimme does.
Gimme. And we're building supply chain tools for the vending industry. And we've started with vending because this is where some of the technology pains are really pronounced, and where I have some firsthand experience and some firsthand network connections. For us, we're dealing with an industry that's almost been just forgotten by technology for the last 20 years. Now, we see the flashy Coke machines in malls, but that's not the standard vending machine for vending machines in America. The standard vending machine is the one at the jail, the one at the high school, the one downstairs at a train station. I mean, that's the average American vending machine, and these haven't been touched since the 1980s by technology or technology companies or innovation or disruptive products. And that's the audience that we're going after right now, is helping the owners of those vending machines.
Well, there's got to be a unique selling proposition. Is this different than from what's already out there?
It's very different. In today's landscape, you've still got the owners of vending machine, half of them still use pen and paper to track all the products across all of their machines and all the cash that all their drivers are carrying. And they're delegating some really important pieces of information about their business to pen and paper. And the other half are using a really old Motorola handheld to keep track of the same thing that has a wired connection that constantly breaks. So we've got this division of people who have technology, but it sucks, and then people who don't have technology, and that sucks for its own reasons. And neither of the groups are satisfied with what we're building, or with what's available. And we've come along to produce a really simple, fast, and beautiful solution that allows the owners of vending machines to keep track of products and cash and all of their machines.
Well, and you've learned how to do an elevator pitch. Tell us about the beautiful solution that you've come up with for the audience to get a little bit more of an understanding.
Absolutely. So I started to allude to it earlier, but right now just keeping track of some basics. The products in the machines and the cash that's been collected is still not being performed properly. So we build a really simple hardware and software solution that plugs into existing vending machines and tells the owners of those machines the products that have been vended, the cash that has been collected and is being carried by drivers, and what they can do to make that whole process better, from changing what's in the machines to sell better to being aware that things sell out, and that frustrates people too when they get to a vending machine and it's
Sure.
out of their favorite snack.
Well, just in time, and I'm assuming, but when you're dealing with, in a technical, conversational standpoint, a legacy system, how do you embrace that legacy system with this new software capability?
They've got some powerful software already on the back end, and we're the superior data collection tool. There's no great piece of technology that allows them to capture what's happening at a per machine level or what's happening for each driver. And we build the technology that facilitates things that are happening with the machine and sending that data back to the software that they already have running at home base.
And I'm not to drive the point too hard, because obviously maybe there's a secret sauce that we shouldn't get into over a conversation that will ultimately be heard by millions of people. You know how it is with Tech Talk, and all kidding aside. But that said, I'm still not getting it, though, in terms of does the technology get involved with a legacy vending machine in some way that collects that data, or are you collecting the data by way of the supply chain in terms of the location and just keeping the track of the distribution going from source to consumption?
Absolutely, and it sounds like I misunderstood your question the first time, so I'm sorry about that. The question is about our ability to connect with legacy vending machines themselves, correct?
Correct. And you mentioned jails and train stations and those kind of things, and having an antiquated piece of equipment. How do you update that equipment without replacing that equipment?
Part of that is our secret sauce.
Okay.
We had to look at how can we make sure that all the old vending machines from the 1970s when they came out with an electronic data capture system all the way up until today's 2015 machines,
wow.
How can we make sure that across the board we can connect all of them to the Internet of Things? So we built a proprietary piece of hardware that's plug-and-play compatible with over 90% of them and can easily be installed by the drivers that service them anyway. No complicated install, not having to send out a service tech, not even needing a screwdriver, just plug and play. Now we connect old vending machines to the Internet of Things.
Well, and I can see from a conceptual standpoint exactly why so much of the venture community and the startup community is so excited about what you're doing. I can see, as you mentioned, while you're involved in an application that you have a lot of depth and experience in the vending industry, something like capturing legacy, what I'm calling legacy systems, have got to be a chronic problem in a whole number of different verticals. And what you're saying is that, in a case of where you've got hard asset investment, instead of having to literally ditch that particular investment and then have to go back and reinvest in something new or whatever the cutting edge is, you can technically take it from where it is to where it needs to be simply by leveraging the solution that you're providing. And I would think that the possibilities are literally unlimited.
For us, we had to pay a lot of attention to a particular audience. In some industries, it might make sense to say, hey, let's just ditch the asset that we already have deployed with a brand new one. It'll have great new features. But this is not that industry. For us, we've got vending machine owners who started the business themselves, their own business themselves, back when they graduated high school in the 60s or 70s, and they've grown it their entire life. And they have some of their original machines they first bought. And as long as those machines are making money, they're not going to get rid of them. So for us, saying, yeah, ditch that old machine and just buy another, $5,000 vending machine was not an option. We had to be able to retrofit quickly all of the machines and allow them to bring old machines to the future.
Absolutely powerful stuff. I guess I'm just being a mosaic thinker and thinking that same type of an approach to some other verticals, it may be more complicated because you don't have the background or the experience, but the need and the same situation with the investment and the established procedure and process that's already in place, the option being, as you mentioned, expensive replacement or an alternative that may be a fraction of that cost that can take you from where you are now to the cutting edge of what's next as far as, quote-unquote, the Internet of Things. I think it would be pretty dramatic in the vending industry, but across the board. Well, it certainly sounds like you've got the product and the timing down. Cory, it's one of the things we do with Tech Talk is kind of put our CEOs, CFOs, CTOs on the spot and want to talk about, we say everything is so 20 minutes ago. Everything is happening so quickly, and change is not exponential. It's phantasmagoric. I mean, it's almost magical how quick things seem to be changing.
Right.
What are the big things that are coming up next for you and your team?
This is a fantastic time for our startup. It's a great time to be part of it, and we've gotten attention from the TAG event. We're getting a lot of support from, like I said, Georgia Tech, TAG, Metro Atlanta Chamber, and Venture Atlanta, all rooting for our success now. So we are hyper-focused on building out our team, So we've just started opening up new positions and we're hiring. And we're also just starting a round of fundraising to make sure that we can deploy quickly and deploy accurately within our segment.
Well, among all of the accolades, certainly we're glad at TAG to be able to say one more time, congratulations, 10th anniversary TAG Business Launch Competition. No easy competition. I know the number of players and people that get involved and how demanding that the judges are and the procedure is. To get to the finals is one thing. To actually win it is a door opening for opportunities, but it is an extremely strong recommendation from a lot of peers who challenge the best of the best to be even better than they can be. So it means a lot to us. It means, I'm sure, a lot to you, and I think to our listening audience. Once again, congratulations on the TAG Business Launch Competition. And Cory, lots of success continued. We'll be watching, and ideally, when you ultimately go public or get it and merge with some other company like Nabisco or something, and you actually buy them, and then instead of buying you, we'll have you back. But thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule for joining us for a few minutes today on Tech Talk.
Frank, I really appreciate you making the time for me and my team. Thank you so much.